world's greatest radio.
We give you a reason to stay.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Good evening and welcome to Real Man Talk here out of Columbus, Ohio. I'm your host, Conrad Banks. I'm here with the real man, Brad Scott. Say hello, Brad.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
All right, all is well, all is good. We're just here tonight just to share some wonderful things for you. We got a program lined up for you tonight that's one of excellence. We've been talking a lot about absent fathers, lost sons on this program. So we're going to continue on that topic. We're going to continue on with those subjects tonight. However, it's going to be a little different spin tonight for those of you that's listening tonight. We're going to be here. We got some great guests for the show tonight. But before we get into the show tonight, I want to talk with this real man. We had some fun over the weekend. We did some good things. We had some fun going up to West Virginia to watch the state championship football game in high school. My old school was playing. And we had just a great time. Of course, they won. I'd like to think they won because I was there. Nevertheless, I was just so great because the feeling was so great because I've never got a chance to see them play in the state championship finals. And they've been there quite a bit in the last 7-8 years. And I think they've taken home about 4 or 5 state championships. So it was an absolutely wonderful time. Had a great time this weekend. I don't know what anybody else has been doing, but I had a great time. It's just like the song says, I wish. As I look around and see so many things going on, I just wish. I just wish things were a little different. What do you say, Brad?
Yeah. Something you hope and pray for, you know.
How'd you enjoy going up to West Virginia, Brad?
I loved it.
Meet my rowdy friends.
I loved it, man. It's a different experience. Get to go to West Virginia. All the mountains and hills.
Getting to go to West Virginia is a different experience all in itself.
Yeah, coming from Philly.
Yeah, I understand. But we had a good time, and I really enjoyed it. Had a good weekend. I was grateful to see the Buckeyes win, get into the Big Ten championship, but nevertheless, I was sad that they didn't get to the college football playoffs. But nevertheless, they got a nice little consolation prize with the Cotton Bowl. But nevertheless, what we're going to do tonight, we're not going to talk about football. We're not going to talk about food. We're going to talk about some things that's very important and very relevant in the black community. And not only in the black community, but all communities suffer from absent fathers being away from the home. So as I said, I'm your host, Conrad Banks, and I'm here with the real man, Brad Scott. Excuse me. Tonight, very special guest, Mr. Charles Leister. How you doing tonight, Charles?
Fine, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. Did you have a nice weekend?
We had a wonderful weekend.
Good?
Busy?
Yes.
That's great.
Yes. And I've got another great real man in Brett Thomas. Brett, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Glad to be here.
Good. We're glad to have you. How was your weekend, Brett?
Hey, it's pretty good, you know. Just like you. I wish those Buckeyes would.
That's all I needed. All I needed was for the Buckeyes to win, and I would have had a great, fantastic weekend. It would have been just well. But, you know, tonight I got to really take my time and make sure that things go well tonight with my Pittsburgh Steelers. But, again, I said I'm not going to be talking about a lot of football, but anytime we talk football, I'm thinking Steeler football. So tonight we're going to talk to these guests about absent fathers and lost sons. Tonight we're going to talk about the father who stayed at home. And we're going to talk about the the lost son who found his father. And I think this is absolutely a great opportunity for these two men to be here with me. I know them both very well, and I thank and praise God for them both, because they're good friends of mine. So tonight we're going to start off. I'm going to ask you, Charles, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Charles Leister. I'm a pastor. My wife and I pastor New Beginning Christian Center on the southeast side of Columbus. We've been in ministry since the early 70s. We've been married 42 years.
Wow.
And have 2 grown sons, Jason and Joseph, they're in their 39, 40 years old and have five. We just got a brand new one.
Yeah, I was gonna
brand
say.
new one. 5 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild.
All right.
I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, on the east side on Leonard Avenue, near what's now Ohio Dominican University. But at that time it was St. Mary's of the Springs, and born in 1950, December 10th, 1950. So, coming up on my 67th birthday.
God
Now-
bless you.
This December.
All right. Well, you got a birthday next week. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, I heard.
We're gonna take a little trip.
Yeah, take a little trip. I understand. Well, what we've been talking about is absent fathers, lost sons. As you've been around the African American community a long time, could you kind of share what it's like to be into a culture that was different from your upbringing?
Well, one of the things in terms of being, our experience in ministry has been primarily African American. We pastored a church in Cleveland for 9 years, in the inner city and Plain City, and then here in Columbus. And so most of our congregation has been African American. I'm married to an African American woman, a lovely bride, and we've experienced some of the stresses and that the women face in their trying to raise their children in a home, a single family home or a single parent home, I should say, and some of the difficulties they face, financial, emotional, social, and some of the effects it has on their children as they're raised. And the importance I found in finding the importance of having a father in the home with his wife, with his loved one, raising children together. The benefits of that in terms of the children's development and their future and their self-image of themselves, as well as the lessons they learn, it made me appreciate and be very thankful in what I experienced in our home with my father, and the lessons he taught me,
Right.
and how I see in those lessons in my life, how they have affected me. I see that how it has already, I've been blessed by the grace of God to be able to pass that on down to my sons and see that in them, in their development and their how they handle their children and the examples they set to their children. And so I really appreciate the importance of having a father in the home with the mother, and also the blessing that comes from that for the children and for future generations.
All right. Well, let me ask you this: what kind of challenges did you have with Jason and Joseph? Since I know them both very well, were there any challenges as they were growing up that you had to deal with, as far as, once I know I did as a young man, once we get a little old, we get a little mouthy, talk back a little bit. In my case, talk back a whole lot. But I'm just wondering, did you have to deal with any of those situations? Because today they seem so respectful and calm and peaceful.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's part of being a father and a mother. That's part of raising young people, especially in different generations, and the nature of each generation of how they handle and how they respond and so on. So there were times that we were correcting, had to correct. There's times that we had to be more forceful than others. I tended, whereas Ann might have been more on a discipline in terms of, boy, I'm going to smack you. I was a little more of the, let's sit down and reason. I kind of acted like the Lord in Isaiah, where he said, come, let us reason together.
I understand.
If your sins be as scarlet, make them white as wool. So I tended to be more of, let's sit down, let's talk through this, and here's the opportunity for you to change, and if you don't change, here's the consequences.
Yeah.
And so we had that kind of thing. And I remember one instance where Joseph, our youngest son, was going out with this girl in the neighborhood, and it was late at night. We told him, Joseph, you can't go out. You can't go down. It's too dangerous. You can't go out tonight. You're not And he was a teenager. He was in high school. And he said, I'm going out. I'm going out. I'm leaving. And we said, well, Joseph, we'll tell you one thing. If you leave this home, you better find another home, because you're not and he got out, and it was in the middle of winter. It was winter, and he got out on the front porch with the snow and everything, and the darkness and all that, and it's like he stopped and he thought, we're there standing watching, stand and watch, and then he came back in. He says, "Oh golly," and from that point on, he we didn't have any kind of issues with that in terms of curfew or going out and anything like that. So it's good to be able to put in the children the understanding of having reason and being able to make sound decisions for their life. And that's where we, as fathers and parents, can really help them by setting that example. I'm sorry, I use the scriptures a lot, but as Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ. And it's the same thing as a father and mother. You said, follow, if you set that example and live that life and treat your wife well and be there in the home and take responsibilities and so on, it sets an example. The children are watching.
Sure.
They're watching and they're listening. I've been in education for a number of years, and we find that in the schools that some of the children that are having major difficulties is what they bring and how they react is very much a result of what they're facing in life in the neighborhood or in the home without having that strong stability in the home. And so I really appreciate some of the experiences I had growing up, because I know it helped make me who I am and helped me pass that on to my children and see that same thing in them.
All right. Excuse me. Let me ask you this. I know you, and I've been knowing you for quite some time. And I don't mean this in any way to be facetious, but you've always reminded me of a Ben Cartwright on Bonanza from years ago. Ben Cartwright was always the man of reason. Ben had the solution. He was a problem solver. And for those that are listening to us tonight that haven't had the benefit of having a spiritual father in the home and a spiritual mother and being raised in pretty much a spiritual atmosphere, what do you say to the man and to the lost son that's being raised by a single mother, not only a lost son but lost daughters? What do you say to those? Because I know you've seen and had those members in your church somewhere along the line. How do you address that issue?
Well, I think there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity there. I see that in the experiences we've had in ministry and in the congregation and with young people that are in the congregation, and the opportunity is there, and the responsibility, I see it as a man in that congregation or a man that's in that child's life, that when you see that they're being raised or in their situation where the mother is a single parent and she's having struggles with the children, part of our responsibility is not only take care of our own children, but to be there for the children that don't have a father in their life. Right. And be able to take that as an opportunity for example, in ministry, to be able to be a part of their lives, to pour into their lives and to speak into their lives and to show them love and compassion, as well as correction, as well as instruction, to help them and to be, as much as you can, a part of their lives. Right. You won't be in the home living with them. You won't be all there all the time. But as often as you see them, as often as you're in their presence, take opportunity to take them out, on a sporting event or bowling or having a party or going to a movie or things, but just to be an example that they have somebody they can look up to. And I know one thing from being in education, when you show that you respect the children and you love them, and the children can get that feeling from you that you love them and you care about them and you're there for them, they will connect with you and they will watch you and they will emulate you and learn things from you. And with that, you could also, when they know that you love them like that, when you discipline them, they receive that.
Sure.
Discipline. When you correct them, they receive that correction because they know you love them, and that you're doing it not because you got a job or because you can't stand them or nothing, but they know when you do correct them, and they want you to understand that they want to hear you. And so-
Exactly. Well, that's a good example of what to say to the people out there who haven't been raised in a spiritual setting. How do you deal with the conflict? And we're going to come back to you because I have some more questions to ask you as far as how do you get that wife? I heard what you said about the men coming home and the men being in the lives of their sons or daughters. But what do you do when the mother doesn't want that father around, period? And we're going to come back to you. But right now, keep that in mind. I want to talk to my brother, Brett Thomas, a real man. Brett, good guy, all around great guy. I've known you for a few years, and I've never seen anything that I could ever point at you and say, oh, you did this or you're that, except to say that I feel you're a real man of God and a quality young man. And I appreciate you being a part of the Real Men Talk ministry. Tell me something, Brett. Share with us a little bit about yourself.
Well, it's Brett Thomas, 32 years old. Been married, be 5 years in April 13th. April 13th.
Don't forget that anniversary. Don't forget that.
April 13th. That was a crazy day, but it was a good day.
All right, man.
You forget, it's going to get real crazy.
No. I got two great kids. One just turned 2 years old on the 1st of December, which was a couple days ago. My son is going to be 4 in January. So, just blessed. God's just blessed me with a great family, great wife, good church family. I'm just blessed and glad to be part of Real Men Talk. Been part of it for years now. It's amazing that I've been in it so long I don't even really realize it, but it has definitely changed my life for the better. I don't even want to know where I would be without it. I don't think I would be where I'm at now without the guidance of Pastor Conrad.
Yeah.
Thank you,
man.
And my brother right here, always giving me good advice throughout the years. Pastor Brim as well.
Oh yeah.
Just a lot of men pouring into me. So it's been a good journey. But I'm just blessed to be here.
Well, Brett, excuse me. I know a little bit of your history. We've shared and talked before. Now I've been talking with Pastor Leicester. He's been a man at home with his sons. Mm-hmm. What was your upbringing like?
Well, I grew up with my mother and my grandmother pretty much. My grandmother was one of those grandmothers that pretty much had everybody in the home. It was never a time where we didn't have somebody in the home. It was at least about, 6, 7 people always in the house. She was just one of those mothers of the church that just took everybody in. So, it was mainly just me and her. I had 2 adopted brothers and sisters as well. She was a foster mother for over 10 years. Okay. So I had foster brothers and sisters. Of course, no father in the home until I got a little older. But it was an experience. But I thank God for my mother and for my grandmother who taught me, principles. Even without a father there, they told me what was right. Just like Pastor Elijah said, you rule with an iron fist. So I was blessed to have some good teachers.
Well, let me ask you this, Brett. Did you have any male figures in your life since, because your dad wasn't there?
Right.
Was there anybody else that stood out or came to your aid, to help you as any kind of mentor, father figure in your life?
Definitely. My uncle, he passed away. It was in 2009. My uncle which was my mother's brother. He definitely was a good father figure to me. I think growing up, I think the Lord just brought a lot of people in my life, a lot of men definitely in my life on what not to be. And I'll take that as a role model as well.
Yeah.
My uncle was a good man. He loved me to death. But it was things that, he was going through that he would tell me not to do. Brett, you see where I'm going through? He would just throw a little tidbits, do this, don't do that. I had another cousin, his name is Michael Clark. He passed away about 3 years ago. He was another father figure as well. Another male that always told me, Brett, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You don't do that. But when I was there, they were definitely there when I needed them. So, I definitely thank God for them. Of course, a lot of spiritual fathers, of course, like I said, Pastor Conrad, Pastor Brim, a lot of men that are also my uncle, William Benberry. He was definitely a father figure as well. Always there for me when I needed him.
Mm-hmm.
Still there.
Good.
And I was blessed, even though I didn't have a father in the home. The Lord always put men in my life to give me that guidance when I needed it. And if I needed something, just fatherly advice, just about growing up and being a man, and they were definitely there. Of course, my two cousins as well, which was pretty much my brothers. They're older than me. Jamie, Lamont, Benberry, they were definitely like brothers, but they were like older brothers, father figures that really taught me how to be a man as well.
That's great. That's a great story. Now, it's always important that extended family get into the lives of the young men who don't have a father at home. Mm-hmm. And these young men are being raised by a single parent, by their mom. Now that you have sons of your own, children of your own, how does that affect your parenting skills? Has it affected your parenting skills at all?
Definitely. Just me having both of my kids, it's been a lot of challenges, just being, the father in the home. That's all I wanted to be, would just be in the home,
right,
and let them see me, which growing up, when I think about it, I don't think any of my friends growing up that I hung around with really had a father in the home. None of them. So that was important for me. Now, just being in the home, that was just the most important thing.
Certainly.
Just loving on them, teaching them, playing with them. They're young now, so I got a lot of things to learn. But so far, just being in their lives, letting them see me, waking up to them every morning. I think that's important because I didn't have that, and I wish I did. So.
And the good thing about it, what I found out by being, I kind of was in both roles. I was a lost son, and then as I grew older and got into a relationship that didn't work, I became an absent father. So I had a terrible balancing act here. I had to learn how to be a father first and foremost, to make sure I could be a responsible parent. And these are the types of things that we're looking at in our community that have to be addressed. And one of the things that I've heard and seen so many times is that mothers get in the way. They don't mean to. They just have some unforgiveness. They just have some feelings. Right. Like they say today, they feeling some kind of way about that father that wasn't in that home.
Right.
So we need to, that needs to be addressed in our community today. Brad, you've heard both Brett and from Pastor Leister. Talk to us and share with us anything that you've heard that you'd like to comment on.
Yeah, Pastor Leister, I got a question. In retrospect, looking back, and the way you raised your kids, I don't know, some people would say that they would question the way that they raised their kids, when they begin to think about it as the kids get older. Was there any one thing that you could look back on and say, man, if I would have done this different, would you have done something different in your child's life? Just
yeah, there is. As we look back, both myself and my wife Ann, we both have talked about this, is that we gave them a good, stable home and good education and all that, and we were there for them. But the one thing both of us just kind of wish if we would have done better was the role of encouraging them to be all that they can be, to really utilize the skills and abilities that God had given them, and to be there to kind of encourage them to do more and to take risk and to try this and to identify more the giftings in them and help develop that. I feel that we did some of that, but just when you look back, you kind of evaluate and say, boy, they really could have been more. Now they're great young men. They have no problem working. They have very good skills. Jason, my older son, is with us in ministry, and he's developing in that and sharing and giving the word and so on. So you see development coming in that area. But they really did have skills, for instance, athletic skills. That were there, and they were like the stars in elementary school. But when they got to high school at the next level, we really didn't push them or give them that opportunity or encourage them to take and to do all that they could do to excel at that level, at the high school level. Some of it was because we were so busy in church or so active in church that we didn't give them that opportunity. But that's one of the things that we kind of said we could have done better.
All right, we're getting ready to take a short break here on Real Men Talk Here. You've been listening to us on Talktainment Radio. You can hear us, Real Men Talk, here live on our website at talktainmentradio.com. To watch the live broadcast on Real Men Talk Here, go to YouTube and type in the word Talktainment, hit spacebar. Type in the word radio, scroll down to Talktainment 2 live on YouTube and watch the live broadcast. Then check out for the replay on Talktainment 2 live on YouTube and Facebook.com/Talktainment. We'll be with you in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. We got some interesting guests here. We got some great guests. Pastor Charles Leister and Brett Thomas. And as always, we're here for you. Real Men Talk Here. We got about 7 minutes.
For a high school that allows you to work at a pace that is right for you? Are you ready to earn certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you're ready for Life Skills High School, a free public option for Ohio students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. That's 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
Queen's Legacy of Love 12 brand launch and grand opening. Currently looking for hosts, photographers, models, dancers, entertainers, ushers, comedians, production managers, model coordinators, stage crew, vendors, volunteers, sponsors, public relations and media personnel, and extras. Contact ggoldqqueen22@yahoo.com.
Queens of Queens. Stand by for an important announcement. Mortgage interest rates are the lowest in history. Did you hear that? Mortgage interest rates are the lowest in history. You can buy a home from Lenco Realty for less than rent. For details, call 614-375-2BUY. That's 614-375-2289 or log on to repohomelist.com. That's repohomelist.com and claim your American dream.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Kickin online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Kickin products are better than those other guys. Ash Kickin candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling all right.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop Ash Kickin online at www.ashkickin.com.
Pastor Clifford Riley and the congregation at Mount Gerizim Missionary Baptist Church cordially invite you to worship with us. Yes, come to the Mountain of Blessings for a spirited, love-filled experience. Our Sunday services and twice on Wednesday Bible study will change your life. We are located at 2633 Mock Road, and our phone number is 614-475-9712. Again, 2633 Mock Road, or call 614-475-9712.
If you or a woman you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and you want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
Whoa, long time no see. It's me, the Rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTamitRadio.com.
All right, we're back with Real Men Talk here. Again, I'm your host, Conrad Banks, and I'm here with Real Man Brad Scott. And I got two special guests with me, Pastor Charles Leister. And,
how you doing, Pat?
And my good friend, Brett Thomas, a real man also.
All right, how y'all doing?
We're just having a good time up in here tonight discussing this topic that's very relevant. There's nothing funny about an absent father and a lost son, but we are having a good time here tonight just discussing and hearing the wisdom, having someone to share with us what life was like coming up in a home where the father was in the home, and then hearing another perspective from our brother Brett that's talking about being raised in a home without dad. So we're going to continue on that trend of talking that same topic. It's so important in the black community where we begin to come to realize just how important this is. I have mentioned before on this program that fathers, if you're under the sound of my voice, I need you to realize that your son or your daughter needs you. They both need examples. Your son needs a male example. If you're not there for him, guess what? There's always somebody out in the street that wants to teach him how to be a man their way. And somebody else is going to be raising your son. So your son or your daughter, they need you. Your daughter needs you because she needs to see what kind of man she wants to marry. She also wants to know what kind of man, if she marries a man, will he protect her and provide for her and someone that she can love. And a lot of times there's a lot of confusion because the children don't want to alienate their relationship with their mother by showing affection or any type or having any kind of relationship with that absent father who maybe hasn't paid child support, hasn't been in the child's life. But all those things can be taken care of and reconciliation can take place. But parents have to get out of the way and think about the children and not focus on their hurt and their pain. In a lot of ways, that's very difficult to do. But I have seen couples reconcile, not necessarily get married, remarry, but I have seen couples that come to the understanding that the child must come first. And this is what we're talking about here tonight on Real Men Talk here. We're here sharing with you tonight the simple fact that we have this desire, this passion to see these things take place in the black community. We want the father to come home. We want the father to be there for his children. Again, if you want to hear Real Men Talk here, you can hear us live on our website at TalkTamitRadio.com. And to watch the live broadcast on Real Men Talk here, go to YouTube, type in the word Talktainment, hit the space bar, and type in the word radio. Scroll down to Talktainment 2 live on YouTube and watch the live broadcast. We look good sitting up here tonight, I'm going to tell you the truth. Then check out for the replay on Talktainment 2 live on your YouTube and Facebook.com/Talktainment. All right, we're going to get back. We have some more questions, some more discussion for Pastor Leister and my brother Brett. Right now, we're going to continue. We're going to come back. The ball's in your court now, Pastor Leister. I'm going to ask you again, how do you handle situations? Because as a pastor, I know you've had to deal with counseling in these situations. I remember a young man at your church who seemed to be quite troubled at that time. And he had his grandmother, I believe, was taking care of him. How do you deal with counseling in that situation, trying to get that young man, once you recognize what the issues are, how do you deal with that?
Well, one of the things, besides when you speak of counseling, a lot of times it's not necessarily formal counseling and sit down in a meeting and talk through things. Sometimes that does happen and does, but the other thing you have to look for when you see a need like that in a young man's life is look for opportunities to put a seed in his life. One of the things is the Lord always opens up opportunities to speak or share or talk. And if you take every little opportunity to connect with that person who is troubled or is going through issues, or as you're speaking of the example of the young man, I know exactly what you're speaking of, is just take opportunity to speak into his life and be there and to give him a hug and say, hey, but I love you, I care for you, the Lord loves you, and give every opportunity to give a positive image or a positive word to him, because there's so many negative things that he's experiencing, especially out in the street, and if he's getting involved with gangs and so on. But be able to say, listen, you have a future, you have this, and I'm here for you, and then you have opportunities where you just need to show more of a strong a strong presence in his life. Like I remember one time, this young man you were speaking of, who was one of the issues, a lot of the issues that happened there was when he was born, his mother was addicted to drugs. He was born addicted to drugs, and a lot of his anger was related to that. And he was so angry that there were times that he would go into a rage. Yeah. And I remember one time in specific, we were in church, and something really just kind of, the trigger just kind of turned this rage on, and it was he went into this rage and he became very strong. I mean, he was strong anyway, but he was so strong, it took three of us as grown men to just gather around him and take hold and hug him and say, and so he wouldn't hurt himself or hurt others, and just hold him until we were able to talk him out of that and into a more calm state. And what I've experienced is when you do that, they may not show that love or care or understanding or reception of that right then, but they'll always come back. And this young man would come back and say, well, I appreciate what you did. I appreciate, and they always come back because that connection was there, and they always remember that. And that's those you take those little opportunities just to plant a little seed, a little good word, or a little, even a touch, a hug, or a, hey, brother, I'm with you, and so on. That does much to help them through those tough times.
And you're so right. So many times I've seen situations. As a matter of fact, the young man you're talking about, remember I was involved one time. Yes. When he flipped on everybody. And when I say flipped, I'm talking about flipped the switch from being just kind, docile, getting along, and all of a sudden he's in a rage. I was hoping there would be 2 or 3 other people to come to help me deal with that young man.
Yes, he was strong.
Everybody was telling me, don't let him hurt your back, don't hurt your back. And I'm saying to myself, well, get over here and help me out. But it's so necessary that we view the need of these young men rather than their behaviors. And so many times it's easy to focus on their behavior and not look deeper and say, what is the need here? How can I help him? Yeah. And a lot of it has stemmed from my own personal experience growing up, just like that young man, just like Leek used to be. I used to have the anger issue, want to fight. My answer to disagreement, let's fight, and just go off and on a tangent, not understanding what was wrong with me. But in those situations you described, we got to look at the need and we got to sow that seed. Brett, let me ask you this. Do you currently have a relationship with your father now?
Yes, I do. On my 18th birthday, when I graduated high school, my dad came to my graduation. Before then, I haven't seen him probably, I don't even remember the last time I seen him. But that was the time when he was really starting to try to make a lot of changes in his life. Good. And I think the Lord was trying to really work on him to really get himself together. And as the months and the years went on, he would just, going, really going hard for God, being on fire for God, and got into a good church, Greater Christ Temple, and just started really making some major changes, and it really just blew me away. I really didn't want to, it was nothing but God and my family, my mother and my grandmother, pretty much really not really talking bad about my dad, just really letting me know that he has some issues going on, and now he's trying to get himself together. So, give him a chance. With them telling me that throughout the years, it was really easy for me to let him in. Yes. And again, with having male figures in my life, so I felt like I was going to win no matter what. So if he left, it really didn't really matter. But I thank God that he really, put that spirit in me to really give him a chance, because now we got a great relationship. Me just watching him give his life to God and making that, crazy transition, it just blew me away. And I was just like, wow, I need to get myself together. So he pretty much got me, got me right with God. And now we both attend the same church. We're in the choir together.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. He's a great man. Without the issues, my dad he couldn't ask for a better dad. You know what I mean? So I just thank God that he's in my life. He's a great grandfather, great father, great man of God, great example of what happens when you really give your life to God. He can really turn your life around real fast. And some people need it. They sometimes you have to see it to believe it. And I seen it, and he was like, whoa, this is real.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. So you've been listening to The Parallel tonight. For those of you that are listening and watching the program, we have the man here designed by God to be a dad, who stayed in the home and raised his sons. And then we have a young man who was in the home without his dad, being raised by his mother and grandmother. But at the same time, you just said something, Brett, that made a lot of sense, that is so positive, is that your mother and your grandmother did not put your dad down. Yes. And for one thing, the image that's created when that absent father is not in the home, it can be so negative that the child develops an attitude like, I don't like him, I don't want to be around him, and pretty much don't even know him. That's what's sad. Brett, you had a question for Brad. You had a question for Brett.
I did, yeah. Brett, coming up, and when I was much younger, our neighborhood was close-knit but small. And I knew that there were influences, both negative and positive, in our neighborhood that, you could have leaned left or right. Most of the influence in our neighborhood, fortunately, were positive in my neighborhood. My mother and father, like I said, did all that they could, do the best that they could with me. But, there was an older gentleman in our neighborhood who turned me on to coke, for example, which was a negative thing looking back. Could you tell me how you navigated? Did your navigation through that, or did you ever slip up? If you know what I'm saying, for lack of a better word.
Well, pretty much. I just had it's really a cliche, but I had a praying grandmother.
Okay.
A praying mother as
there
well.
You go.
Really just prayed for me, and really just pray that God would really put better people in my life. I had a couple of friends that I was doing some things just like in high school, skipping school, not going to school, or just not doing any kind of work. I actually graduated late, didn't graduate on time. Just I kind of slipped a little bit, to be honest with you, but nothing too major.
Gotcha.
Just blessed to have parents and grandmother and my mother to really just instill God in me. I wasn't really paying it no attention, but when I was doing wrong, I would always hear my grandmother say, "Brett, no,
okay.
I can always hear her voice. You know what I mean? Brett, don't do this. Brett, don't do that. If you would have, if I want to do something with a girl, my grandmother, God said this, and God said that. So I'm like, oh man, I can't do nothing. So I just thank God for them. But I had some times where I could have went left, and I had some, I had the urge to want to do something different. I was tired of the church life. I wanted to do something different, but something told me that wasn't going to be the right thing for me. So I kind of, stayed on the right path, and God just started bringing more, better people in my life to really try to fly straight, you know. So,
let me ask you this. I'm going to ask both of you, Pastor Charles and Brett. Is having a father in the home overrated or underrated? I'll ask you both. Is having a father in the home underrated or overrated? And Pastor Charles, I never did get to ask you about your upbringing in your home with your dad. So is having a father in the home overrated, underrated? Do you discipline like your father disciplined you, or is it different?
Well, I think in many cases that having a father in the home in today's society and experiences is underrated. That it's because there's so many single mother or single parent homes, predominantly mothers or grandmothers, which we thank God for them and for their dedication to the children. But there's so much getting used to that, and it's becoming so much the majority of experiences that the actual message of having the benefits of having a father in the home along with the mother is necessary for both. Is being underrated or is being minimized or saying, well, I can make it without, and we're doing fine and he'll be okay and so on. So we have to really, I believe, in my opinion, really guard against that, because there's so many pressures in society that simply say conform or compromise or accept it and just go on, versus saying what's the biblical definition of a family, and what is the biblical instruction in terms of a father and a mother and roles and so on, to really take that and say, no, I'm going to stand for what is good and right, and not let it get compromised.
Brett,
so,
what do you say? Overrated, underrated?
It's definitely underrated. I think. I do wish I had my dad in the home. To wake up to. I think one of the biggest regrets I have is not really taking, like you said, sports serious. I just didn't have that. I think I needed my dad to really push you. Brett, you can really do it. You hear, I hear my uncles, my cousins tell me, but it's something about your dad telling you, looking you dead in the eye and saying, son, you can do this, I'm telling you. Trust me, you can do this, But I really didn't really have that. So I definitely think it's very underrated. That's something I'm definitely going to be instilling in my kids, that they can do anything, and I want them to really believe that, coming from me. So I think it's definitely underrated. I think a lot of kids can really benefit from having a good father in the home, a good father, because a lot of fathers in the home, they're not really doing anything. So I mean, a good father. It's a difference. It's difference between having a father in the home and a good father.
That's right.
So definitely underrated.
When you said earlier in your statement that you wish you'd had a father, when you woke up in the morning, you wish you had a father, that was there for you.
Right.
In the home I woke up in, I was hoping that he wasn't there, because there was always a lot of chaos. There was always a lot of violence. And so, even coming up in a home when you had a dad, like you just said, doesn't mean it's a good father.
Right.
And there is a big difference. Someone there to encourage, someone there to give you some positive reinforcement, right. As far as encouraging our children. But so many times we don't see that in our community. And this is what this show has been about, and what it will always be about, trying to reunite mother and father. You don't have to remarry, but you gotta put your children first. Develop some kind of relationships. Mothers, you gotta get over the anger and the pain and the hurt. Fathers, in some instances, you have to get over the pain and the hurt. Maybe because she divorced you, you weren't holding up your end of the bargain. Maybe you got children and you never got married, but you just let the responsibility be on her because you wasn't paying child support. There's a lot of situations out here where we have to make sure that men are doing their part in the home, because our children in our community are suffering as a result of this. You don't want to raise your son, father, you absent, you don't want to raise your son, gangs will raise your child. And we know what the outcomes can be if a gang is raising your child. And father, you don't want to be there for your daughter? Well, guess what? There's a pimp out there in the street. He'll raise her. He'll show her the love that she's missing from you. And he'll make her feel like he is all she needs. And he will instill fear in her. Statistics show and indicate that so many daughters who don't have dads grew up and are in relationships where they're violent, where there's a lot of abuse. It also indicates that sons get caught up, if they're in a single-parent home, they get caught up in drugs, they get caught up in gangs. And we need to be there for our children. And I found out something. Just because they turn 18 years old, this thing about, well, you're 18 now, you got to go out on your own. I think that's the craziest thing that's going, especially if they haven't been taught. If you haven't taught them anything, if you hadn't been a proper example to your children. Right. You know, I think that's really crazy. And like Pastor Charles said, you know, we go into compromise. I don't need him. He ain't never done nothing for me. You know, what do you want to talk to him for? He's never done anything for you. Right. I had a lady one time called me. Her son was graduating from high school, and he wanted his dad there. She didn't want his dad there. And so when I began to investigate and talk a little bit more, the young man had never met his dad, but he had heard about his dad. So she asked me to talk to the son. And I didn't tell him that, you know, what he was asking was hard. I just had to let him know there's one of two things that can happen here. He's either going to accept you or not accept you, and are you prepared to deal with the response that he lays on you? And then I had a situation with one of my own sons, who he was not there for as he grew up, went to college, did an outstanding job in college, has a great job today. But they weren't together. But just in, I would like to thank grandpas, you know, putting input, they're together now. And they talk a lot and they share a lot. And that relationship, you know, is healing. But both of them suffered because my son grew up just like I did. You know, I wasn't there for him. And he did whatever he wanted to do. I see all those things today, but I did not see them when I was younger. You've been listening to us here on Real Men Talk Here. You can also continue to listen for a few more minutes because we're going to be here talking. You can hear us, Real Men Talk Here, live on our website at talktainmentradio.com. And to watch the live broadcast of Real Men Talk Here, go to YouTube, type in the word Talktainment, hit the space bar, and type in the word radio. Scroll down to Talktainment 2. Live on YouTube, and watch the live broadcast. Then check out for the replay on Talktainment 2 live on YouTube and Facebook.com/Talktainment. I know that's a lot of information. That's why I repeat it quite a few times on the show, because we want you to get it. We want you also to hear the information that is being shared on this program. We're here on Monday nights, Monday evenings at 7 p.m. We try to be here for you. We're trying to share information that is relevant to the black community, whether it's talking about absent fathers, lost sons. We've interviewed authors on the show. We've talked to community activists on the show. We've talked about prison ministry on the show. We have some great information for you. So tune in on Mondays at 7 o'clock p.m. Have one more question. Brett, has not having a father in your home, has that affected your marriage? Because you didn't have that manly example in the home. Has that affected your marriage any? Your skills?
Not really.
Good.
I think it's. I don't think it's not in a negative way. I think definitely in a positive way. Like I said, just wanting to be there, you know, being a good husband, a good father, one that she can count on. Not disrespectful, not abusive, you know, any of that. So I think definitely in a positive way. Like I said, I've had, you know, the Real Men Talk to really show me what a real man is really supposed to be, not just in the community, but in the home as well.
Yeah.
When I had questions, you know, dealing with, you know, particular females, including my now wife, you know, I would definitely call them and let them know and just lay it out there. Yeah, definitely. So I learned a lot, just learning from a lot of men that were married, you know, what they were going through, and just learning from, you know, Pastor Conrad, Pastor Brim, on what, you know, which way to, you know, flip it. You know, I know you're mad, you want to do this, you want to do that, and we're going to do it God's way. in the right way. So after years of and hearing that, I think it's really definitely helped me out.
Pastor Charles, do you have any more comments before we wrap up the program? Any more comments you want to share with us on absent fathers, lost sons?
I think that as a concluding comment, I would just say, in looking back and seeing how my father was in my life and some of the things that he did, we didn't do a whole lot like going hunting together or going out to athletic games. We were very busy around business, about church, and so on growing up, which shaped my life. But one of the things that he did exceptionally well was give an example of what it means to be a strong man.
All right.
A man that is compassionate, a man that is committed, and a man that has companionship with his children and with his wife. So examples are important. So brothers, be that example to your children.
All right, Brad, do you have anything before we go off?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for listening, Columbus, and everybody that was watching us on YouTube tonight. We'll be here 7 o'clock p.m. on Monday evenings. We thank you for tuning in tonight. And you've been listening to Real Talk, Real Men Talk here on Talktainment Radio. And you also can view us, like I said, you catch us live on YouTube. You have a good evening and a good night. You've been listening to Real Men Talk here